Okay. Big story, big developments down in Haiti. And this whole story is fascinating for a lot of reasons. Of course, as you all know, President Jovenel Moise, who was recently assassinated in a plot that is wild and we are still learning the details of. The Haitian government says this dude in Florida wanted to become the president and he hired these mercenaries, some of whom were Haitian American, some of whom were Colombian. There's a lot going on there. But the piece I want to focus on today is there's been this power vacuum in the country. The prime minister, a guy named Claude Joseph, basically right after Moise is assassinated, tries to claim power and tries to claim international legitimacy and tries to take command. He's the one who asked the U.S. to send in troops, which is, of course, a horrific idea. Unfortunately, the Biden administration so far has said no, although they are leaving that potential option on the table, which is, amazing.
Crazy.
So initially, the U.S. and the international community backed this guy. And just to give you a little bit more of the context, part of why there's such a question mark around who should take the place of Jovenel Moise is because Moise has been ruling by decree. He didn't call elections, even though he overstayed his term in office. We backed him in that, by the way. Trump did. And then Biden came right in and continued the same Trump policy of backing this essentially authoritarian strongman dictator ruling by decree and writing his own new constitution in Haiti. Because there were no elections, there are very few remaining elected leaders in the country. There are only 10 members of the Senate remaining out of, it's supposed to be 30, and there are no other elected members of, I don't know if they call it the House or the representative, the lower body. There's none because there were no elections, so they're all gone. The judiciary, bunch of the judges resigned because of Moise overstaying his term. The Chief Justice in June died of coronavirus. And there are multiple versions of the Constitution.
There are 3 versions of the Constitution?
There are multiple versions of the Constitution. In one of them, that Chief Justice, who has now passed away because of COVID, would have been the successor. So that's why this is such a big question mark. And then, let me add on one more layer, which is that Claude Joseph, who was the prime minister under Moise, he had just been terminated, essentially replaced, and a new guy was set to be sworn in as prime minister in the following week. So that's the state of affairs. So initially, Claude Joseph, country's leader in the aftermath, we can throw the New York Times tear sheet up on the screen now. So I'm reading for this now. Claude Joseph was a country's leader in the aftermath of Moise's assassination. He will hand power now to Ariel Henry and join a new unity government intended to keep Haiti stable. Haiti has become a baseball thrown among foreign diplomats. That's according to Joseph Lambert, the president of Haiti's Senate, adding that pressure from American diplomats was a major factor in the reshuffling of Haiti's leadership. So this new guy who's now going to take power, Ariel Henry, he was the one who was set to be sworn in as prime minister in the next week. So initially, the so-called core group of foreign governments and international organizations that basically see themselves as running Haiti, which is outrageous, including the UN, Organization of American States, consistently a bad actor, EU, the US, France, Spain, Canada, Germany, and Brazil. They had initially backed Joseph, and now they're throwing their weight behind this other guy, Ariel Henry, who had been set to be sworn in as prime minister. And we really don't know, Saagar, why they switched horses like this. We have no indication of what made them decide that, we should go from Claude Joseph, who was the prime minister but was going to be taken out, to this other dude. That's where things stand, and I just think it's incredibly telling. And the Times quotes a lot of Haitians who are very upset by the way that, why are we the ones who were saying, no, we decided we're done with this one, we're going to pick this one now? Why are we in the position to do that?
It's really hard because you also don't know do these people have even democratic legitimacy? Within Haiti, there's actually literally no way of knowing. I think some of it might have to do, again, this is total speculation, but his government, Joseph's government, he's the one who's releasing all of the intel that we at least know about the assassination. And some of it has seemed pretty crazy. Mercenaries, Colombians, American doctors,
agents, FBI informants.
There's a lot going on here. And my thinking is like maybe they found out something, maybe like within his role, or like maybe he's not releasing something once again. But look, I think the core point stands. Let these people figure it out for themselves. And you know, to be clear, it's not America here. It's like the entire international coalition,
OAS,
right? Yeah,
the EU,
it's like the European
UN.
Union, Spain, Canada, Germany, Brazil called on Saturday for the formation of a consensual and inclusive government. And so it does just seem like it's such a mess that a lot of international organizations, which have interests at least in Haiti, are kind of manipulating and pulling the strings.
Yeah,
it's
as
a really
they have
complicated situation.
for over 100 years. I mean, you know, I went through some of the history here, but backing dictators who were horrific and murderous because they're anti-communist, tossing out a democratically elected leader. Twice, John Bertrand Aristide, under Bush 1 and then Bush 2. They both got a chance to back a coup against him. And then with regards to Moise, I think this is really important. This is another New York Times tear sheet we can throw up on the screen. This is what I was alluding to. Both the Trump administration and the Biden administration backed this guy, even though he had what's described as an increasingly autocratic rule, even though there were massive protests in the streets against this dude because there were allegations of major corruption, of basically being in bed with the gangs that run much of the country at this point. And if I could read just these first couple of paragraphs, it says, as protesters hurled rocks outside Haiti's National Palace and set fires on the streets to demand President Jovenel Moise's resignation, President Trump invited him to Mar-a-Lago in 2019, posing cheerfully with him in one of the club's ornate entryways. But lest you think that this is a partisan attack, the very next paragraph, after members of Congress warned that Mr. Moise's anti-democratic abuses reminded them of the run-up to the dictatorship that terrorized Haiti in decades past, that we supported as well, the Biden administration publicly threw its weight behind Mr. Moise's claim on power. So that was the state of affairs when Moise was assassinated, and now you have just a complete and utter mess, and you still have this core group, the US, the EU, the UN, OAS, all trying to control the fate of the Haitian people that should be in the hands of the Haitian people.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it looks like it's a continuing troubling situation, and I guess we'll keep an eye on it.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.